are you the mayor? I said, yes, I am. He's like, I thought that was you. Fist bump and went on our way. So anyway, it's great. I tell you, and it's really nice being able to go to the once a month when we do the employee appreciation for just service and all that stuff. It's really good because you get to know the folks and they get to know you. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's bad, but hopefully good. Anyway, but it's great. So again, for before we jump into it, thanks to all the folks that have been out and about, fire and police and public works and parks helping pick up the slack. You guys have been doing a lot of work, so appreciate everybody that's there. No hazardous duty pay, but appreciate it. All right, so good evening. We're going to start off the evening with Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem John Holmes, the Texas Pledge by Matt Bates, and then invocation by Stephanie O'Banion. Please rise.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in the Texas pledge.
I, the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Join me in prayer. Father, we just come to you tonight, Lord, praising your name. Father, we thank you for the provisions that you've provided. Father, thank you for the team that we have here in Belton, for the protection you've given to our first responders and our community members. Father, we know that other communities throughout the state and nation have faced much harsher results with this storm, and we pray for them in their cities as they recover. Father, I ask that you just continue to watch over our first responders and their families as we go through a few more days, and just ask for your protection. Father, I ask that you guide this discussion this evening, and that that you may give us wisdom, and that our commentary and our discussions glorify you. Father, we just thank you so much. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. We'll call this Tuesday, January 27th meeting to order at 5:33. First item after the call to order is public comments. Citizens who wish to address the council on any matters not related to the agenda and matters that we actually can do something about may come to the podium and state their piece. If there are no public comments, we'll close that and we'll go to the consent agenda. Consent agenda are items 3 through 6, and these items can be enacted by a single motion. If someone on the council wishes to remove these items and discuss them separately, we will do so. For the record, I will read them in, and then if someone wishes to remove them or make a motion to accept, we'll entertain that at the end of number 6. So item 3 is adopting the minutes of the January 13th city council meeting. Item 4 is authorizing the city manager to execute a contract for tourism marketing services. Item 5 is adopting resolutions authorizing submittal of grant applications to the Office of the Governor, Criminal Justice Division for the following: a rifle-resistant body armor, and B, a General Victim Assistance Grant, Victims of Crime Act, fiscal year 2027. Item 6 is amendments to the Building Life Safety Grant Program. Those are the items. Any comments, questions, wish to remove or make a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda items.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt items 3 through 6. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 7, hold regarding the annexation of the rights of way of the following. Item A, Wheat Road from Sparta Road South to the city limits in the vicinity of Digby Drive, surveyed at 25.02 acres. And B, Sparta Road from Wheat Road east to the city limits at Dunn's Canyon, surveyed at 4.92 acres. Mr. Van Til.
Thank you. Project here, our goal here is to annex the right of way of Sparta Road and Wheat Road. The way that you described it, it amounts to about 20 acres in total, from Dunn's Canyon down to Wheat as we go down Sparta, and then as we go down Wheat, it goes from Sparta on down to near Digby Drive to the northern city limits down by I-14. Our goal tonight is to conduct a public hearing as required by state law when we annex right away. And the ordinance that would annex the right of way is scheduled for the 24th of this month. We have to separate those two items. So Mayor, I'll step back and hand it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Since this is a public hearing and not action, we will close the deliberations and open the floor. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to this annexation of the rights of way on Wheat Road, they may do so at this time. There are being no public comments, we will close put that and reconvene. Any comments or questions? I know this is just a public hearing, but do y'all have anything to ask before we take action at the next meeting?
Well, we talked about this morning, just put on record is this is not anybody's yard or house or just straight up the streets for future planning purposes. So anybody that watches or reads or listens later, we're not doing anything to your taxable value annexation wise. So
And thank you to the county.
Yeah.
We definitely want to show our appreciation of the county. And so again, to Daniel's point, it's bounded. We gave the endpoint, but the width is from property line to property line. So this is the existing county right of way that is now transferred to the city. Correct. Okay.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
So again, no taxable value. It's just changing owners from the county to the city. All right. There being no action, we will proceed to item 8, receive a report and provide direction for future revisions to short-term rentals. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Howdy. Let me get out my trusty John Madden pen for you tonight. We're here tonight to kind of give council an update on our short-term rental ordinance. And you've heard some discussion on March 14th of 2023. City Council adopted ordinance 2023-10 to regulate short-term rentals within the city. You may recall that we had another meeting on September 24 of 2024, which was the 18th month, the 18 months later when the original ordinance needed a sunset review. So we talked about it at that time. We talked about it again August 12th of 2025. So you've heard some discussions about this short-term rental ordinance for a while now, but some things have changed since then that I'd like to tell you about. Mainly, since our previous discussions, we have implemented new software. We purchased software from a company called Granicus LLC. This is the same company that the county uses for short-term rental compliance and monitoring. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I'd like to tell you about the actual true number of short-term rentals that we have in our community. And then there's things that we seek direction from council on. Separation is a big topic. The collection and enforcement of hotel occupancy taxes, as well as an owner-occupied designation that's in our current ordinance. So Granicus LLC, again, this software I'm going to give you a peek of. It is kind of comprised of two different parts. There's a user portal that someone who has a short-term rental can use that to go in and to register or apply for a permit and to make payments. And then there's a host compliance module, which is what we see to monitor our short-term rentals. So first, let me show you a little bit about the user side. Again, this is what somebody who wants to apply for a permit, this is where they would go. Just to let you know that all of this software is actually live now, but we have not pushed out these addresses and things out into the community because we're kind of pending this discussion tonight. You'll see. So someone who wants to apply for a permit would go to a website here. Again, they can either register there, click that button to do that, or if they already have a permit, they would click that link existing one to move forward. When somebody goes then and wants to apply for a permit, we're going to ask for certain details from that particular person. One, we want to know about them. We want to know about the property. They would kind of select a location. I just pick what street you're on, and it has a drag down to where you select actually your property. We're going to ask some property details and some emergency contact information from those owners, and then they'll move forward. It'll go then to planning. Planning will review the process, review that particular application. If there's a need for additional documentation and stuff, they can send that communication to the owner, and all of this happens electronically, which is a nice way of doing things instead of so much paper. This portal also will have a site or a section that they can then pay their hotel occupancy taxes. It looks something like this. They'll select the period that they want to pay. I'm just going to circle this January 1 of 2025 to put that in your head for a future discussion that we're going to have shortly. And then they would enter the gross receipts that they had for that month. They would enter any exemptions if they had any from hotel occupancy taxes. And then they would have the ability to actually pay with a credit card, all using this software. Then on our side, it's called host compliance. So this is where Granicus benefits the city. So all of these previous discussions we've had about short-term rental properties, we've always said, we know we have them, don't know how many we actually have or where they are. It was an arduous process of going into the various websites, and you can see a general location and that kind of stuff. But we really couldn't nail anything down. Well, what Granicus does very well is they scrub the internet, all of those sites, to kind of identify those locations that are in your city. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular here. I just wanted you to see what it looks like on our side. So what their software has, what they've been able to do is identify an address there at 816 Northville. This is all from the listing that they have on the various rental sites. They even do a little comparison of what it looks like. Is this really what we're talking about? I mean, is this truly the same address? But we have an identified address. That's the actual STR location. Then down here, it tells us who the owner is and where that owner lives. The parcel ID there you see comes from Belcad. So here we've identified now that an STR exists at a particular location, which we did not have before. One of the very most beneficial things, or one of the beneficial things for us, is this software also captures what they call documented stays. So for July of 2025, there was one documented stay at this particular STR. That STR is at that address right there. That website address would take you straight to this particular property. Again, I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I don't even know who this is. I'm just showing you what's in the software. But we have the ability through this software to identify how many stays have been at this location. And that helps us when we need to start. I would start to have some expectation of getting a hotel occupancy tax from this particular owner for this particular property because they've had documented stays. So what did we find out of this stuff? Yes, sir.
So you showed an address and an owner and the stay documented in the website. Is there anything that says like it's listed at $72 a night or $150,000 a week, or is there anything that ties it to a financial?
I can dig into that and sort of get to that.
Okay,
Yes.
so but you have access to understand what total rentals would have been for a period of time.
I would say I can't get super specific. I can give it one of these because yes, I can actually book one of these and it'll tell me what the rate would be.
Okay,
So you can
but
get
they
it.
don't go pull that data for you.
I think I can get it.
I suspect.
Like an average, it's an average.
We stayed in Fredericksburg in
Yeah.
a short-term rental. It changes based on the season, et cetera, but.
Yeah.
Well,
What I've seen
I
them
was
do,
just kind of curious, like for that one documented stay in July, was that a $10 stay or a $500 stay?
what I think they can provide in the software is average listing, not necessarily maybe what they finally paid, but it would be for this unit, your average listing price is
And Mike, a stay doesn't necessarily mean a day. A stay may be
Over.
A week and a
week.
month.
That's also true. I believe that's
So that's another component of that.
Yeah, this is not getting us, it's still the obligation of the
Right.
owner to report accurately. What I do have the ability to do in our ordinance, STR ordinance, as well as the hotel occupancy tax ordinance, is to audit their figures if I suspected that it was way wrong. Not saying I would do that. I'm just saying we have the ability by law to do that. So yes, so there is some, this just assists us
Thank
when we, to identify. That's kind of what this whole thing's trying to do. But here's what we found, guys. We said we didn't know how many we had. Well, when I looked at this, it was 52 that we have in town. We've got about 19 actually registered with permits. But we have 52 actual rental units that Granicus has identified. As you can see,
It's 52 rental units that we now know the addresses for that we can invite to a meeting or something.
yes, ma'am. You can see there's a concentration of that. Bless you.
Where's it supposed to?
Go ahead. You can go again. You can see this is our actual map from the software. So you can see there's a concentration kind of in the center parts of town. Large concentration of these units. You can just see those squares scattered out throughout 2nd to 15th and kind of get a feel for that, where those STRs are. And so we have 52 of them, but the vast majority of those are not compliant with our current ordinance. Again, the process is they're supposed to register, getting a permit for those locations. And only about 29% of those, again, that's that 18 out of 52 or so, are doing that. Even less than that are paying taxes. So even those, there are a few of those that are registered have not actually remitted taxes. Let me show you some examples, and this is purely for example purposes of separation issues. Our current ordinance as it stands today requires a 500-foot separation for non-owner occupied short-term rentals properties. So what I want to show you is those blue squares you see there is an actual short-term rental that's an active listing. You can see the circles there and how that overlaps other short-term rental properties. That's one example. Here's a second example of not meeting that 500-foot separation. Here's another example. One thing I do want to point out while I'm looking at just this particular one, again, I don't know streets. I'm just showing you pictures of circles. But I'm going to put a red circle there because that one is someone who has a valid registration. But you can see there's other short-term rentals who have not been permitted that are within that particular guy's 500-foot circle. So I'm just showing you that. So that's our kind of our separation on the 500-foot side. So what I've told you is I got a bunch of squares, and a bunch of those squares are not registered or not compliant with our current ordinance. So where we are kind of is we need some direction, staff needs some direction as to whether and how we can make those folks compliant with our ordinance. And that's kind of more of a policy decision. And that's why we haven't pushed out this software and just said, hey, everybody come and register, because we needed some guidance from you guys first before we just started pushing that out. So here's some ideas. This is just some ideas for how we could do this. Again, we currently have let's just call it this way. You could race to City Hall, and whoever gets here first and has a permit and gets the permit gets the 500 feet. And then anybody else that comes in after would not get a permit at all. One option we could do. Another option is but you could just grandfather all of those, which is a similar process we did when we adopted the ordinance back in 2023, is everything that was here, we kind of said, okay, everybody here is got your spot. But you're still required to register and get a permit, and 18 of those did that. We could do that again here. What you would then be doing is who you have now would wherever they are, there's no, that whatever that circle is not relevant to them any longer. And then from that point forward, we could keep the 500 feet. Another option, honestly, you could just do away with a 500-foot separation altogether. That's the council, that's kind of the council policy decision. What we were leaning to as far as a recommendation might be was going more the route of grandfathering, the 52 or so that we have. And that's as far as separation. It'd still be required to come and get a registration and do that sort of stuff and then pay taxes. That's kind of our first issue. We want to come through council and get some thoughts. Our idea is to take feedback from this discussion tonight, and then especially related to the 500 feet, because that's in our current ordinance. If you want to change that, we'll bring back an ordinance revision at a future meeting. But this is, I'm seeking feedback regarding how do we make these currently non-compliant properties compliant, or if you want to make those compliant. The option is you could say you can't operate. I mean, our current ordinance says you cannot operate if you're in that circle.
I mean, if somebody purchased that as a short-term rental that's been in existence, we haven't caught them up until now. I don't know how you can tell them that they can't have it.
If they're not paying
within
taxes.
500 feet. I'd rather have the tax revenue and grandfather those in than.
I agree, and having been on the original committee, I think grandfathering those in is the right answer for these existing. I'm not opposed to revisiting the 500 feet, but I would recommend that go back to maybe our original, or not original, but one of our committees where we get some feedback from, because if I'm not mistaken, when we did this, we said in a year or 2 years, I can't remember what we said, but that we would review and see how it's going. So that may be part of that process.
Yeah.
I don't think
We
it
did that.
something
That
you
was
would-
the
you would
18
just
month.
change and bring to us, and we would do without.
Yeah, or at least the governance subcommittee or whoever, those types of, I don't know if it has to be an STR committee or the same one, or just some eyes to Lana that's kind of community oriented.
Well, we did say we'd come back.
Goal. Yeah, but
That was the question.
I firmly believe the grandfather, when we were first on this committee, it was the intention that there would be software at some point.
Yes.
And we didn't know when that would happen. And I know we grandfathered those at the time, but I think that still applies now that we know exactly who they are. I'm all for collecting that tax. It's not I don't want to be somebody up here that says we want more taxes, but this is you're breaking a state law at this point. So
Correct.
we're just using a tool that's there for us to capture tourism and marketing revenue for those types of things. I did have a question about the software. Slide 15. I noticed it's pulling a hotel as an STR. So I was just wondering, does that just mean they're listing their hotel rooms on like Airbnb, or do we have a hotel that's not actively paying hotel motel taxes? That
one
right
had
there
some.
is-
Bob, I don't remember the exact story there. I think I don't know the answer to your question. There was, yes, I think is the answer to your question
Okay.
to some extent.
I just
Maybe a
wondered-
room or two or something. Or they're just listing it. They may be listing it as under some of those websites.
So Mike, have we had any complaints from anyone about short-term rentals being too close together and a follow-on?
I think there's a letter that you probably have received, some concerns about the 500 feet. I don't know if that went out.
So
There's some Pearl
Yeah,
Street
there.
issues that also stem around owner versus non-owner occupied.
well, and I think the follow-on question then is, should we consider if they're the same owner? Because if an owner owns two homes or two houses,
Mhm.
non-owner occupied, next to each other, and he would like to make both of them short-term rentals, but they're not 500 feet apart. Now, if you extrapolate that out and he buys everything on one side of the block, but the folks on the other side of the block don't like it, then, I don't know how you stipulate that, but.
Um, that's Bob's department. He would be better at working that into some sort of ordinance, but yes, that is.
So
I think the issue was parking, traffic, in and out, trash, and not having those just piled up in a neighborhood.
Yeah, there's
To
been
keep
two
it-
incidences that we
on
know
their
of.
own.
Yeah, there was two incidences that we're aware of. And Chief Berg can speak about that if you'd want to hear more of the stories, but we know of two incidences where, somebody came in, rented the whole place, had a big party, tore the place to pieces, that sort of stuff. But it's only been two out of the 52 that we have.
well, I think you're gonna stop listing your properties if
Yeah.
they get vandalized.
Yeah.
I think that's self-regulating. I don't think we have to get involved in that.
I agree.
So my first question is one that regardless of what decisions we make and all this stuff, whether they're too close together, they're paying taxes or not paying taxes, or they're tearing up property, what recourse does the city have to go in and enforce whatever those rules are? So what's our, how do we go and we give them
We can go through our municipal court, and we would go through our municipal court for enforcement because they're violating a city ordinance. This would help
would
with
be like a
that.
parking ticket,
I'm sorry.
like a parking ticket?
It would
Summons.
be, it's a misdemeanor offense if you like failure to register is a misdemeanor that would go through, yes,
Okay,
like a parking ticket.
okay.
A complaint would be filed and then it would go through municipal court.
And then that would be due process, whatever the court system, it would run through that. So this ordinance would allow us to use that as an enforcement.
Yes, it
Okay.
does. And
And it
that's
would be-
what our current ordinance
He
says.
does.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that as we're
Yeah.
discussing, so I think number one is I just want to make sure that we can enforce. So now that we've got the 52, we can now send them these letters.
Yes,
And okay,
yes.
so the second one is I think that just a general observation, I think whatever the box we want to put it in, whatever our ordinance in that box, 500 feet, not 500 feet, this, not that, single owner, multiple owners, duplexes count, but two houses next to each other, whatever that box is, I think it's going to be wrong. I think it'll be closer to nothing, but I think it'll be wrong. So I think when it comes to the distance and the density, my personal opinion is it probably needs to be, if it reaches a critical density, whatever that is, that then we put a moratorium in that region, whatever that region is, the street, the block, the neighborhood, whatever, something, instead of, because I think
Mhm.
this, gold rush, everybody coming in to file first and they were second in line just because they got stopped at a stop. That's not a good answer. But it's the legal answer. So I think we need to have something more intelligent than just a number. That if there's 2 or 3 places close to Mary Hardin Baylor that always get rented around football games and nobody complains and they're all in the same little cul-de-sac, I don't think it's a big deal.
Mhm.
But if it's 3 at River Place and they're partying when you drive through and every person's complaining, well, then there is. So I think our ordinance needs to be more intelligent. That's probably dealt with something. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I know that.
I think that, to your point, I think those are all good things we need to discuss at another, maybe at a deeper workshop
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, or the committee.
But for this particular item tonight,
Yeah.
for these folks that are existing and non-compliant, they're asking if we want to grandfather them.
Yes,
or-
because,
or-
thank you, because
Or write
Well,
out.
that's,
the
but that's why
500.
I'm kind of going with the 500 feet. It's like first to obtain permit. So I think,
Well, they're asking, do we want to do that? Or do we want to grandfather? Or
Right.
do we want to wipe it all out
yeah, our
completely?
current ordinance has 500 feet. So if we said, hey, guys, again, this is just one option and that's
Personally.
somebody needs to come get a permit. So you hit exactly where what I need to know, Bob needs to know is we have 2 issues. one, I have to send out letters to the existing folks that we know that either says you can operate, you can't operate, or you need to come get a permit, blah, 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 blah. And so, and then you have those registrations that we already have that are going to be expiring and being renewed. We've got to get a feel then for what are we going to do with those guys, or even somebody new that comes along? How are they fitting into this whole process? So yeah, I'm specifically tonight asking for some ideas on those that we know of today that have not registered in our system, because they need to do that unless we're going to say you can't, or you're not going to be eligible anyway.
I think can I ask real quick, just so I know, I wasn't here on council when that took place the first time. Was that a thing where you made a new policy, an effort was made to reach out to everybody, so you grandfathered them in, or were there all people out there that never got, like, are there people on that map that are not paying taxes, are not registered, that were operating before your first round of grandfathering in?
I could not tell you, but yes is what I suspect.
Our first
I
meeting
could-
had
I-
hardly anybody at it.
Yeah,
We threw so many restrictions into the proposed ordinance. We had 30 STR owners show up the next meeting.
That was good.
And so that's what we needed. And so we got them there, and then we basically backed off of a lot of stuff. So yes, they know this is out there. Whether they've done it or not is really at this point, they've kind of been, most of them have been warned. So, I mean,
And I ask that because in my mind, I don't feel good about another round of just pure across the board grandfathering in if it's someone that should have already been, that already knew.
the discussion was, though, we didn't know exactly who they were,
Okay.
because I mean, you saw he picked one listing, and it was
Yeah.
one of one we've seen that, and it's owned by a corporation.
had
So we don't know who's who. We knew software was coming. So the original discussion at the committee meeting was, hey, once we do have an identifying opportunity, at that point, we feel we should probably grant. That was at least two of us that were there, plus the community members. And so I feel it should be a grandfather at this point up to a certain time. You got to put a time constraint on it. It can't just be a open-ended, hey, your grandfather to come by whenever you want type thing.
I agree.
Because I
with
mean,
that.
at
That's
this
a good
point, they're charging for a state server.
Well, they owe us
They
back
should be
taxes,
charging
right?
sales tax. They should be charging hotel tax, and they're not. So they're violating state statute at this point too. So
Let me just call to the council's attention that we've distributed the letter that Dominica Garza sent. It's in your email. And if you have a chance to look at that, it might have some impact on your decision. One of your decisions, the 500-foot one. Just wanted to make sure y'all had that in advance of the meeting. She could not make it, and we wanted to be sure you saw that.
I don't want to touch the ordinance itself tonight. Just
So
my direction, if you're asking for 7 opinions, just grandfather.
I think it's easy for me to say the 19 that are registered and paying taxes, if they're too close together, great, grandfather them in. But the ones that didn't get a permit, aren't paying taxes, that could have been there for the past 10 years that we don't know about, it's hard for me to just say they're fine, go ahead, now you're good.
It's just,
Ordinance for 18 months.
we have, but my understanding, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, we've not known where any of these folks are until this software.
Not until about,
So
yeah,
I feel comfortable.
it took about a year to implement the software. But, and yes, we've known. we've
Their
had that
AV
for
doesn't
about-
give you an address until you book a property.
Right.
It'll show you a
So-
general location, but not.
It was challenging. We did our
Yeah.
best to really find all that we could. And I think now that we know exactly where these are now, grandfather them in, but no more after.
And even better, a letter goes to the owner, not the address.
So it's where it's going to go. They are.
What's,
I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't have any of
Force
that
it.
information, owner versus.
you know, kind of going back to the thing about whatever we have in the box is a set of rules, and then we're going to enforce those rules. So I think number one, we have the enforcement mechanism. I think number two is our goal is compliance.
Correct.
Our goal is not identifying this person or that person. It's just compliance.
Yeah.
So I think the best way to get compliance usually is ask nicely, right? So send everybody a letter to let them know that we now know
Mhm.
in as nice a way as possible, and that you are not, we encourage you to become in compliance and give them the notice or whatever. I think the first one is, and give them a period to
Mhm.
say, if you come in, but in this period, then it's the lowest penalty, like no penalty or a little penalty or pay a little bit of back tag, whatever the minimal is, right? So I think we give them that period and know in 30 days, we will be sending you a second letter, and this is the escalation. And if we get all the way to the other letter, then that is subject. You need to know that this is a misdemeanor offense. And you know, it's like they do the roundups with parking tickets, right?
Fully agree with that. I'm not recommending that we grandfather in these folks that are not registered but it's the 500-foot requirement, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we're not gonna go tell
No, I don't think
Joe
no,
Blow that he needs to close his
Well, I
business
don't-
now because he's,
yeah, no, my thing is
that's
whatever's
what
in
we're
that box.
grandfathering, right?
Yeah, we're
Well, I think it's all
grandfathering.
of it. I think we're grandfathering that they can do it. I think it has to do with the distance. I think it has to do with how much have they paid in taxes or not. I mean, I think it's a list of things.
The way, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm
It
just
would
saying
be-
the way I'm reading it,
It's
it was separation,
the five-
grandfathering the separation requirement is what's
Um,
read right there. They need to
Yeah.
register and pay their taxes.
There's no,
Period.
yeah, without a doubt, that
There's no
has to.
grandfathering of that.
Yeah, and the letters really, I think have already been written and they're in this, all we had to do is click a button. So I just need to know who to click the button and send to.
To David's point on the catching up on taxes, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, look, if you come in within 30 days, you will not pay penalties or interest. This is your
No
your-
back taxes.
Your free ticket to catch up.
Okay.
Whatever you owe us. And if you don't do it within 30 days, then, and I don't know what kind of
Computer
penalties
run.
and interest we're
Do we
talking
know what
about.
they
I
owe?
mean,
It's
We don't know what that is.
6, 8.
We can tell them we want their taxes back to, Mike had said January, when I was talking to him about it
Yeah.
of last year. And so, I mean, there's ways he can get a roundabout estimate because he knows they've rented it. And so at that point, it's just
Well-
a dollar amount, no.
You used to could see who was registered through the state website on bed and breakfast. I don't know if this
Yeah.
is different, but we used to go in and look at what they submitted to the state and then
Yeah.
we knew what they should be giving
Yeah.
us. Is that
State took that away
okay?
several sessions ago.
Well, that's
Yes.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Transparency. Yes. So you're going down towards the second question that I have, as far as enforcement. Well, here, we can do that now. So, and we can come back. So yes, they have to register, and then yes, they have to pay taxes. The discussion that's already been started is different than what I have here. This is my recommendation, and I'll tell you why I had that. But we certainly don't have to do that. I showed you in the software where they go to pay taxes, and it started the first quarter of January of 2025 and went from there. I selected that first quarter of 2025. And technically they owe all the way back to it's even before we had adopted a short-term rental ordinance, because the hotel occupancy tax ordinance has been around since 1985. And so really it all applied anyway, but because I can get a reasonable amount of data, again, to those documented stays, for the most part back to at least January of 2025, because that's as long as we've been working with Granicus, right? Then I would use that as when they said, well, nobody rented, I didn't rent this property for this entire year. I could go back and check to see if that's true or not. It was but if you want to go forward or have some version of this, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's the council policy that I'm looking for.
Try to collect 2025.
Yeah, I think, you won't get what you don't ask for. So I think we should ask them to make whole the taxes that are due. But I think, and I'll just use, if I were to rent it, and I had no fat clue, did not have a fat clue that I was supposed to be doing that, and I didn't make any money on it anyway, and you're now asking me to pay $1,000 in taxes, it's going to really encourage me to not be compliant and find a way around the rules. I think our goal is to get people in compliance and registered first, and then get the taxes if we can. But I don't know, maybe I'm getting nicer in my older age. It's like if we can just get everybody on the list and paying taxes from here on out, I think it's a win. What we do backwards, I think we ask what we can get for, but I don't think we push it too hard. I don't think we bring the full force of a misdemeanor because you owed us $42 in taxes.
Yeah, we didn't have a very good mechanism for it to pay their tax.
You save that for a year from now when we're still saying.
You will now.
This one,
Now,
I fully agree with that.
So make it effective
Procedure.
1 January 26th. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. Easy enough.
Grandfather.
So make it effective 1 January 26th.
or a 90-day window,
And
60.
grandfather, they.
well, I would ask,
And
I would leave it
500
open.
foot of existing.
Okay.
I would leave it open that we have record of your renting and not being registered. We wish, and just give them the thing. And the thing is if they come in the 30 days, not giving them a date, I think if they come in the 30 days, you give them all the leniency is all. But anybody you start having to put the screws to, well, you didn't put a date in. Now you owe us for 2025.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now it's negotiation. Okay, well, you could give that up later, but I think we just need to allow you to have a couple of stages of putting the screws to them before we go to municipal
Right.
court.
So we would leave it as with those dates to report something, with probably no penalty and interest or penalty and interest waived or refunded or however we have to work with
Whatever
it.
nice language you can do on letter number 1.
Okay.
With you don't want to go to letter number 2.
And grandfather, the 500 feet.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, all the,
Go
all
back.
the,
Mike, can you go back a slide?
But
Yeah, so you're asking us to grandfather effectively eliminating separation requirement for existing properties. That's the grandfather request for this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
I
And
okay.
then the way the thought process was there is then just keeping the current number of 500 feet until then we revise the
To
ordinance.
me, it's a much larger discussion we can have later.
Yes.
After recommendation from the committee.
But as you said, the grandfather is just for the
52.
500 feet, right? It's not for the taxes. It's not saying.
Correct.
I just want to make.
well, it's 500 feet and we're grandfathering you in to allow you to use this ordinance, right? Because you need to register.
Well,
So
we're
we're-
gonna try and get those 52 and compliant.
Yeah.
Utilizing the tools we discussed
Yeah.
this evening.
Yeah.
But on the legal thing, Luke, that I think your P and Z mind is probably going around is we're only grandfathering that separation
Yeah.
piece. They're still need to register and pay taxes going, and how the tools we use to get them to do that. That's what I think I'm hearing David and y'all talk
Correct.
through. Okay.
We will still have some who don't register after we send them a letter.
I agree.
But then we'll send letter 2, letter 3, and then we'll have,
Well, then the research you have to do and click and see how much
Yeah.
average rental, you only have to work on 12 of them
Right,
instead of all
exactly.
52.
exactly.
But that's where I would tie the grandfathering, not into a date, but it's based on, we will grandfather them if they register and start paying taxes.
Yeah.
Without
If
going-
they-
And that's
if they-
exactly the way we did it previously. I think we said, you got 90 days or 30 days or some number to come here, register and pay taxes type of thing. And that's probably the way we would do it this way.
Mike, can you remind me what our hotel motel tax rate is for a short-term rental? Is that
It's 7% of the cost of the room.
perfect? And then, to make that payment online, is there a credit card fee?
There is, yes, sir.
What's the percentage?
Oh geez, I don't remember exactly because we haven't started yet. It's a little less than the counties.
I'm sure Granicus charges that though on top of the payment.
3.5, so that's
Yes, sir.
10.5%
I'm
to
sorry?
get that paid. Low.
And they're remind, they collect this from their customer.
No, I'm not.
You know,
Yeah.
but that's fees they'll collect from their customer.
And they register with us through Granicus. Does it help them remit the state's
It's
portion
not
and the
like
county's
you
portion?
paying it
No, it does
out
not.
of their-
All entities stand alone. So the county, they'd have to, if they're delinquent on ours, they're likely delinquent on the state and. the
But if we're getting them to register and do that, we're actually asking them to pay county and all the other, not just the 7%.
Just
County has
ours.
a different site and a fee, an additional
Just
credit
ours.
card fee.
They only pay us in that site.
It's like 20% to pay both.
Okay, yeah, that's a,
It's only ours.
and do we share our list with the county?
The county has the exact same list because they're using the exact same people. They're using the same grant.
Okay, gotcha. And do we?
I don't know where they are in the process.
Well, it might be good to know that we're not, I don't know. If they're gonna get 2 demand letters and they're significantly different, I don't know. Just thinking.
I would like to say, I think that
it's worth considering getting rid of the 500-foot separation altogether. I've not been a fan of it from the beginning. The STR ordinance was initially adopted before I was on council, but when I was not on council, I wrote a letter of opposition to the proposed ordinance. I think that our ordinance is a solution that's looking for a problem. I think from what I've heard, a lot of the issues that have come up are things that can be solved with code enforcement, or if you have 18-year-olds drinking in a house alone, well, let's make it illegal for 18-year-olds to drink in a house alone. We already have that law. I think there's other ways that we can enforce the problems that we're having. And over again, we've sat in this room and had difficulty understanding the 500-foot separation, interpreting our own 500-foot separation. Every variance request that we've gotten, we've approved. And so I think, I don't know that it does us any good. I think it just causes us headache. So if we're going to kick this to governance subcommittee for review or something else, I'm fine with that. But personally, I think it's unnecessary.
Well, some of this started with, I don't know, the code enforcement, you can cover parking, occupancy, and trash. And that was a big issue for, I think, residents on a state.
It was a state. That's where, that's
Fishing tournaments, and
the only one I know of, is the one on the state.
that's where it all started. And so,
I'm not opposed to that either. I think it just needs probably a deeper dive, a little bit of a deeper dive. That
So since it's
struggle
the-
to get from the get-go.
Yeah, I agree, especially because you think of, as you were saying, people coming in to a game for UMHB. Well, if there are 10 houses right next to the football field, why shouldn't we let all of them rent that out on a game weekend versus just one because they're within 500 foot?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not
I can
good
see
to-
how it needs to be
Yeah,
individualized.
street.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where it's more, if there's an if it becomes an issue in area, I think it triggers some level of restriction. It's like, hey, there's already too many. But I think, from what I've heard, and to land the plane, I think we're all in favor of what you've recommended. I think we're all in favor of getting them registered. I think we're all in favor of grandfathering them. And since those currently the 500-foot ordinance is in place, grandfathering the 500-foot, and then what we can do is review all of this stuff later at a
Absolutely.
governance subcommittee, let that, or another STR or whatever group, let them kind of go back and look at it now. But I think the goal is, and whatever you guys need to do to ratchet up the pressure to get them in compliance without killing them.
You're stopping me there? Okay.
Just
There's a law for that, Mike.
Ah, darn it.
There's hot taxes and
So no-
there's no.
no motion needed,
Excuse
just
them.
input. Was that fair?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll be sure to tack on as you land that plane. I'll just ride there with
Yeah.
you. We had a couple of other just cleanup items from, may remember the duplexes,
Yeah.
multifamily. I think that since you all want to have that 500-foot talk, let's just save that for another day. We'll land the plane and we'll kind of get on our way. So.
Totally
okay.
agree.
Thank
Get
you.
them registered.
Thanks.
All right, that is it, I think, on this, my agenda. Now we're gonna be in executive session. No action will be taken at the end of executive session.
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to do the
Oh,
affirmation
there
of
is.
the
I'm
emergency
sorry, I had
declaration.
the,
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
it is right here. It's,
This emergency edition.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mention the other. Sorry about
All right. So the emergency addition to the agenda is, give me a second. It doesn't say anything about it other than confirming, affirming a local disaster declaration for weather-related emergency in the city. Does it require a vote?
Yes.
Yes, sir. A motion, second, and a
And
vote.
is it roll
to
call or
affirm
just
it.
majority?
Just a majority.
All right, Chair would entertain a motion to affirm.
Second.
Second.
We have this motion and second to affirm the local disaster declaration that was signed by staff and the mayor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, now we go to the executive session. Sorry, Amy, I had the wrong agenda in front of me. All right. Last item, executive session Pursuant to the provision of the Open Meetings Law, Chapters 551, Government Code, Vernon's Texas Codes annotated in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, and Section 551.071, consulting with the attorney. No action will be taken afterwards. So everyone may go.
Y'all be safe.